Hello, and welcome to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. After Show here on theStreamtv Fan Show Network. I am your host, Kevin Becker, and joining me, as always, on my left...
On your left, this is James Hartman.
And then on my right...
Keyla Teixeira.
And then far right...
Mark Cirillo. And I'm not far right.
So go. So real quick, go ahead and invite your friends to join the conversation right here, right now, on theStream.tv's YouTube channel. All right. Okay, to get us started, that first episode of Season 2 started off with a bang. I was so excited for the 1945 flashback, and I loved it. You had Dum Dum Dugan, which is always going to make me happy. You had all of these fantastic artifacts with S.H.I.E.L.D. busting in on Hydra, and I think this is a really great gateway to continuing the S.H.I.E.L.D. universe. So what do you guys think? How do you think this is going to expand the universe that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has already started to establish?
I think it's going to expand in a major way. I mean, what's the blue thing in the box? What was that? We were all just looking at each other, just thinking, is
that an alien?
Is that an alien?
Where's that come from?
Rewind, freeze frame,
Cree,
open.
Cree. I'm going to drink every time you say Cree. I think that's all I'm going to do.
Oh, God.
S.H.I.E.L.D. drinking game from now on, yeah.
And then I felt like I'm so excited about entering Agent Carter into it to set up for her series and to just find out the history of S.H.I.E.L.D., like the real, full history. I'm so excited about that starting.
And she was great. I mean, like,
she's amazing.
Haley,
She's got a
Haley
great
Atwell
presence.
is amazing.
Yeah,
like,
I love her.
And just that bit and her being a badass, I just felt it was just great. It pumped me up for the show. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, it's always wonderful to see Peggy Carter just like swoop in and save the day every single time, pretty much. She's like the most badass feminine character on the Marvel Universe right now.
Oh, debatable.
At least on TV, at least right now.
Now we've seen.
Bold words.
Marvel.
But like she came in, she kicked ass and took names, and she got the very first 084 in this situation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So that was a very intriguing turn of events in that case.
Figuring out the origin of we've had 084 since the final tag of Episode 1, Season 1. We're going to go get an 084. And now to learn that, it comes from this item, this obelisk, is a really, really cool thing to me. I love world building like that, and I think that was a great addition. Before we go any further, there's so much to talk about, but before we go any further, I want to do a quick shout out to some of our favorite blogs. You can follow these guys on Twitter. All right, you can find at ShieldTVF. All right, you should check them out. At AOS Fans, which I'm pretty sure all of us are. And then, of course, at S.H.I.E.L.D. Site. So check out those three. They're on Twitter. They have sites. You can check them out. It's fantastic.
I'm an AOS fan now. After this episode. And sort of the end of last season. The first half was kind
Back
of
to being a fan.
It was terrible.
At the end of the last season was just like...
But you know what? That's a perfect transition, because we had last season, we had this season that kind of tread water for a little bit. We had the big boom at the end. Now we're several months later. We've apparently skipped an entire winter.
Which
apparently so.
Winter's no longer coming. It has passed.
It very much
Game of Thrones.
That's a different show entirely.
Guys.
But we've got, the team is in a totally new place. We've got Skye as a field agent. We've got Fitz recovering from his near-death experience. And you've got Skye and Ward in this Hannibal Lecter, Clarice Starling thing that's going on right now. So, are you guys excited? Do the characters call out to you more now than they did when they were just kind of like, we're on a plane, how's it going? In season 1?
Well, I'm super excited. I mean, the Ward and Skye conversation was really interesting to me. The comparison you made with Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter and stuff was really cool. But he's a psychopath. I mean, if you opened a dictionary right now and just looked up the definition of psychopath, Grant Ward's name would be right there. Like,
I lost my mind.
So crazy.
He's basically admitting it. Oh yeah, there was a button here, so I decided to use the button. Then
you
have no idea how many times you could fold a piece of paper
to make it sharp.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Was that necessary? like, oh, you have so many times.
It's character evolution,
Well, I
or
was just gonna
devolution,
say-
if you will.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, well, I'm so glad he finally has a character. Like, I felt like the whole first season, he just didn't have one. And now it's like, I feel like everything's better. His writing's better and his acting is better. Like,
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah.
And his beard is amazing.
Very well groomed for a prisoner kind of beard as well.
well manicured.
Excuse me, Mr. Ward, can we bring in the hairstylist to come in? I'm sorry, you're a prisoner, but yeah, let's do it.
You know, do you know how many people were hired just to comb that beard? Like,
6. There were 6 people.
Oh, man.
I looked in the credits. Ward's beard team.
Never
6
seen
people.
a beard so even in my life.
But the cool thing about the Ward and Skye dynamic is that bomb that he dropped. That I want to tell you about your father. And we know that Skye's father is going to be involved in this season. We know that Kyle MacLachlan is supposedly playing a character called the Doctor. That's all they'll give us so far. Who is supposed to be Skye's dad? I mean, these connections that he's got they get me super excited for all the different twists and turns. I mean, I assume that you guys are just as like stoked. Like, tell me more right now. Give it to me.
I mean, when he just dropped that slight bombshell in there, we were all just looked at each other, just like, oh, what?
He's like, I've got so much to tell you about your father.
In that exact face. In that exact face.
Little Shanti and fava beans. It was just like, wait, what?
It was like somebody watched Silence of the Lambs right before.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it to me is really cool. And like going back to what you guys were saying, that he finally has a character. I think that's part of what he was saying in the fact that he said, like, I finally am accepting who I am. And if you go back and
Which is a psychopath.
which is a crazy person
know
with
it.
a beautifully manicured beard. I think that helps with a character. For when you have a character who's conflicted, that makes for a great story. But when you have a character who's just hiding, you can end up with, I think, some of the criticisms that you had against Grant Ward in the beginning of season 1 last year. Like, he's stiff. He's that guy. He's the Captain America without superpowers type.
Old American jock type.
I mean,
Let's
and
go.
this kind of relates to, I mean, we all know Whedon and Buffy. In the last season of Buffy, when Spike got his soul, he kind of had the same kind of transformation that Grant Ward is having. It's just, it's interesting to see
Kind of in
him.
reverse, though.
You'd say?
I think kind of in
You're right.
reverse.
He became better.
He had inklings of a soul that then deteriorated into like a fizzy nothingness of crazy psychopathic madness. That's
Well, it was like he was pretending to be nice. Like he was just going through the motions of caring for these people that he clearly was going to kill someday.
Yeah.
Psychopath.
It's like a farm.
He is
I was
a-
gonna grow this little pig.
He's
Hey,
a
guy.
psychopath.
This is the exact kind of dynamic you want to have on a team, right? But speaking of teams, segue. Speaking of teams, let's talk about the new members of the team. You've got Lucy Lawless, and you've got her team, her mercenaries,
Her vagabond team.
ragtag, and
Yes. Mercenaries.
These characters, I think, are a really great foil to the guys we've got now. We had last season this team of, like, you've got May who knows kind of who she is. You've got Coulson who knew who he was, and then you've got a bunch of freshmen. You got a bunch of people who don't know who they are. Then you've got, and now they've kind of figured that out, and you've got Hartley's team who knows who they are and are not ashamed of it and are just going with who you've got the moment between Hartley and the one guy where
Hunter,
yes,
Yeah.
and saying, we should get more money because this guy's got powers. Don't be who you are right now. And it's an interesting difference to me to have these two teams forced together, and I'm interested of where you think they're gonna go.
Yeah.
That was a major positive for me. I really loved seeing both of the teams kind of mesh into one, and they seem to be working together well so far. Although there's a few little problems with both of them, but hey.
Well, my favorite thing about the new team, like Lucy Lawless's team, was that they all seemed like fully fleshed out characters. Like they all had personalities. Like it was just right there as soon as they were involved in the story, and that made me excited because I didn't feel like first season had that with the leads.
The original team. Yeah, well, I mean, like, I really like how organic they are in the story. They completely, unapologetically, they are in the middle of the story as it takes off, and they don't need like an actual character introduction or anything like that. They're in the middle of the action. They're right there. They're doing the trade-off, you know, for the intel or the object or what was it at the beginning, and you know, you actually start to follow them as a nice team, and the chemistry that they have with everyone else within the original S.H.I.E.L.D. team feels very balanced and very good. They fill out certain empty spots that didn't exist before, you know?
Yeah. I agree with you on that one, for sure.
Yeah, they definitely add a more like, you have these guys who are like, we're gonna do the right thing. And then you have these guys who are like, we're gonna do the thing that's necessary.
Whatever we're supposed to do, we're gonna do
that's obviously where S.H.I.E.L.D. is going, towards necessity over the perfect answer.
They're putting their jobs first and then their emotions second.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love seeing that, because I felt like last season it was just emotions.
Which was really clear when Coulson was like, no, you're going to complete the mission.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what's happening.
Yeah, that was a very big shift in his character.
Yeah, he stepped into that whole new position, which is great, seeing him just be a badass.
Director Coulson now.
Director Coulson. Not agents. Not agents.
He actually is almost kind of a new member to the team. Like, he is, like, we have Coulson that we knew, and then we've got this Coulson, which, you know, in rewatching season 1, they talk about, you know, Coulson makes some calls, and they keep saying, like, this isn't the Phil Coulson that I knew. This isn't, you know, the Phil Coulson that was before New York. And he's like, get used to it. And now we've got yet another Phil Coulson showing up. Yeah. And I think that's an exciting turn for the series, is you've got your team that you know, the team that you don't, and then the guy you thought you knew from all these movies now is just like, well, okay, he's making the tough calls. They, you know, Hartley's team understands it. I think our team, like Coulson's team, understands it, but they may not be 100% comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So I
love Clark Gregg. Like, I just love Clark Gregg. So I don't mind. I love all these different layers of the character and all the different things that they're showing.
Right. Real quick, just want to give a huge thanks to everybody who's joining us on YouTube right now. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. You can also tweet to us. Use hashtag AOSAS, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after show, because we want to hear from you guys. So if you're on the YouTube, or you're the YouTube, I'm 80. If you're on YouTube or you're on Twitter, just send us your questions. Now, we've reached the good side of the team, but there was a lot of bad in this episode.
Ooh, yes.
You've got two major villains that we have just started to dig into. You've got Absorbing Man, and you've got the Kraken at the end.
Well, at the beginning.
Yes, and at the end. So I'm stoked. I think that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does its best work when it knows what it is. It is a Marvel television show. There are episodes from last season that could have been on any generic
procedural.
Procedural sci-fi kind of oriented show.
But the addition of Kraken, the addition of Absorbing Man, the addition of all these things tells me that the show knows what it is. How do you guys feel about, I mean, like, they dumped them and they were like, here you go, you're having them. You wanted them, you've got them. Does this excite you guys?
It hugely excites me. Yeah, I'm so excited. But yeah, the Absorbing Man, I mean, was phenomenal. Like, that was, I mean, he was great. And the effects are so much better this season, which is very exciting, because it all looked real. I didn't feel like there was anything that took me out of it because of poor quality. And that made me happy.
No, I completely agree. I like bringing back to what you just said. They know what type of show they are now. Last season it was kind of, and now it's just getting straight into it. This episode was so great, it was so good. And the Absorbing Man, I mean, so badass.
So
like,
kick-ass.
It's so perfect. I have there's no complaints on my side of who his character is. It's right on the money for me.
Yeah, they've become incredibly self-aware with what kind of a show they are right now, and they don't have the whole Captain America Winter Soldier looming over them and telling them what to do and how much they can expand right now, the TV series, before they have the big Hydra reveal and all that kind of stuff. Not until at least Avengers 2, Age of Ultron.
Right. So far towards the end of the season.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll get to kind of expose all these characters for real and show, open them up, crack that chest open and show who they really are in this story.
Without one of the MCU films kind of dictating how the show plays out. I mean, we don't have any Marvel Cinematic Universe films coming out anytime soon, right?
Not till May with Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
it's going to be a while.
It's nice to see that when the films aren't dictating how the show is going to run. This is the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. freaking show. Like
it's their time now. This is their time.
And now they can build us up to the summer. Like, the show's gonna end and then we're gonna have like the summer movies. And so,
and I think there's a really cool thing that is just bouncing around in my brain, because you've got the Kraken, who was alive in 1945, is alive now. This makes it available. We know we have Baron von Strucker in Age of Ultron. Now, in the comic books, he was alive in World War II. He stayed alive till now. They now have opened the door for that to be true in the movies as well. It's kind of a cool thing. I mean, I don't know if it was written into Age of Ultron that Strucker is that old, and then they were like, oh, cool, we can use that in the show. But as far as chronologically just viewing it, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has now opened a door that the movies can take. And the Kraken is such a great character. But we didn't actually even learn he was the Kraken until the gut punch that was the ending of this episode. And if we don't talk about the ending of this episode, my brain will explode.
I agree.
So, okay. Now, I know that those of us who watch a lot of Whedon shows expect to watch an episode and just to be like, oh, I'll just thank you for this thing. But, it's a really interesting thing that they did. They took a lot of expectations. You've got the fact that Simmons is a hallucination.
Oh my God.
Okay. These guys.
I love that bit.
These guys can tell you. When that reveal, I wanted to cry.
She literally got teary-eyed.
I'm very
she did
sensitive.
Have tears in her eyes. She had tears in her eyes.
I had some tears in my eyes. It's just so sad, and it kind of made sense because she was. In the whole promotional images for this new season, she looked completely different than, if you think about it now, than what she looked like in this episode. Her entire outfit for this episode kind of ties back into the first season. When you see the promotional images for this season, she had shorter hair.
And
she's
that
a little bit
is
more
why
edgier.
Fitz is actually looking at her.
Exactly. In that picture, exactly.
They had that little Easter egg there already. We didn't know.
And we did not know.
Bastards.
Knowing is half the battle.
I know, right?
But I mean, you've got that, and it was just head body. For those of us who have seen, The Fighter. But it was just that Coulson monologue at the end. I am sure that there are going to be people out there who are like, oh, I did a monologue voiceover. That's cheesy. But it was the exact right cheesy to take my ventricles and just beat on them like a boxer. Because you've got the Simmons reveal. You've got the fact that they stole a Quinjet. You've got the secret mission that they were on.
They now can fly around.
But the question is,
they're ghosts.
But the question is, was that a big deal, stealing the Quinjet? I mean, do you guys think that it was a big deal? Like the whole, sneaking into this facility wasn't really that big of a deal, just for a Quinjet? I mean.
But it wasn't just for the Quinjet. It was for the 084 that Lucy Lawless's character, Isabel Hartley, grabbed, and she was like, my hand! And then she got so heroically cut off, only to get stolen by absorbing man.
And looks dead.
There you go.
She looks a little dead.
Yeah.
But I think that opens up a really cool dynamic because you're already seeing Phil Coulson act like Nick Fury.
Yeah.
The compartmentalization, the putting two teams in the field where one team knows one thing, one team knows the other. He is stepping up. He is using what he knows from the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. already, and is it gonna bite him in the butt like it has bitten Nick Fury? I mean, we've read the comics, we've seen the movies. We know that Nick Fury, being the super spy, turns around to just kick him from time to time. it always ends up on top. But is Coulson going to learn the hard way that he's got to trust his people? He is separated, and is this new persona that he's got, this Fury-esque way of doing things, gonna be a problem?
Yeah, definitely. It was. I mean, yes.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, yes. There's definitely going to be a point where, because of his decisions of being so like to the book, back to the book of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff, somebody's going to get hurt in this situation, and it'll bring him back to Earth. It'll bring the life, you know, the human side of Coulson back. Because right now I'm not seeing that so much.
That's true, but that said, he is evolving a lot as a human being with a very secretive serum inside his body. So it is kind of changing who he is. We don't know if he's coming to any kind of realization of the fact that this is changing him and that he's doing all the, you know, cryptographic little points and stuff, all the crazy drawings that John Garrett was doing and that Ward found out in that episode where he went to Russia or something like that. What was it, in season 1? Yeah. So we don't know yet if that's affecting him, but that could also have a big effect on his behavior right now. And at the same time, he is trying to rebuild S.H.I.E.L.D. And Nick Fury himself asked him to rebuild S.H.I.E.L.D. So it feels like that's why he has taken it upon himself to act like this and kind of be distant from his team, because you're my team right now. You're my 2 teams that I will, you know, send out to these different missions. You're going to have to do this, and I'm the base of operations right now. My brain is this.
No, I completely agree, and it was kind of sad for me that we didn't get to expand on what he was drawing. Like,
yeah. You saw the glimpses. You saw the glimpses on the obelisk. And then, I have to wonder if, I mean, you said someone's going to get hurt. Someone got hurt. 2 people got hurt.
Yeah.
We still have to wait till next week to see what's going to happen with Lucy Lawless and the guys in that car. And that's what I'm excited for, is because there are consequences coming out. Right. Speaking of the gentleman in the car, next week, which is going to be really exciting, right here on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. After Show on theStream.tv Fan Show Network, we are going to have a member of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cast. One of the new cast members who plays Idaho, Wilmer Calderon, is going to be here with us next week. We're going to talk to him about the show and the cool things and the car flips and all of the fun stuff that happens.
And if anybody has questions for him, like, please send them in. Like, we
Hashtag AOSAS. There it is.
There it is, guys.
Now, we do have a couple questions that have come in already that we would love, I would love to hear you guys' answer to. So the first question comes from @Targets1983, and they ask, if you could choose one character from the Marvel Cinematic Universe films to appear in the show, who would that be? I've got this one chambered. Bucky Barnes. I want Bucky Barnes on the show. Here's the deal. I have loved, I've read Brubaker's run. I love Bucky. I'm Team Bucky. I love Bucky Barnes. I love Winter Soldier. And he is on this quest right now to find out more about himself. He has been as manipulated by Hydra as this team has been. And so who's to say that he can't, you know, find out that they know a piece of information about him that he may need, and they need his help. Plus, him and Coulson got that, we died, but now we're back based on situations that we didn't have any control over. They can be buddy-buddy and hang out.
But he was also kept in cryostasis, right?
Yes.
So that can also explain why Kraken and everyone else was
True. We do have the cryostasis idea.
No, that makes sense. And if I had to pick somebody, we haven't seen her yet. We will see her next year. Scarlet Witch. I would love to see Elizabeth Olsen in the show. I love the Scarlet Witch. I love her. She's great.
This is hard for me because I have so many favorite characters from the Marvel Universe that I just want to see. But my number one, also from the Captain America world, would be Diamondback. I just kind of love her. But the other one would be Jessica Jones, but like the Brian Michael Bendis version of Jessica Jones,
Which is coming, which is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that's coming to Netflix.
So I'm like, that would work, right?
Ooh, do you think it's going to happen?
I hope Coulson shows up on that.
Hopefully that's going to happen. That's going to be the evolution of
That'd be exciting.
But really I would totally love, from already the established cinematic universe that they have, I totally want Bruce Banner to show up. Because they really need the technology. They really need need his brain to come in and sort their stuff out because, you know, like, he's a genius. Plus, he's also a huge hulking, raging green monster that is brilliant, and so we require that in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So please, ABC, Disney,
with technology that they probably can't afford for television.
Exactly.
Let's do that.
Now, here's a question that came up, kind of switching gears a little bit from the bigger to going back into the small. At KeegsX18X asked us, do you think May and Coulson will ever hook up? Now here, and we've all turned into 6th grade kids. So here's my thing. I hope not. And here's why. Because you had 6 cast members from the original series. You have Skye and Ward, who apparently were a couple. You have Fitz and Simmons, who are a couple. And then you have May and Coulson, who are a couple. I feel like, I mean, that to me is nitpicky, and it just seems too convenient that we had 3 girls, 3 guys, and they all split off Brady Bunch style. I don't 100% know what that means.
I would pay to see them. I would pay to see an opening of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. into Brady Bunch.
Yeah, here's a story of a lovely Coulson.
Look, somebody on the show has to have sex.
I mean, they got to blow off some steam.
I mean, do you
I've had sex on this show.
Well, yeah, Ward and May, and that's why it would be so weird.
Answering the question, do I think they will hook up? Yes, because, you know, Coulson is, I don't think everything's right up there, so there's going to be a moment where he breaks, and then May's going to be like, come here, Coulson, and then you never know.
Maybe, I don't know, I think he's reached this kind of status of being kind of asexual because the love of his life, his wife, is still out there, she's still alive. He's rebuilding S.H.I.E.L.D., but I don't know, maybe in the back of his mind, there's that hope that he can just, at some point, even though he's director, quit and go and see her again, and you know, they can fall in love again together. I don't know, there's that hope. For him, I don't think he wants to hook up with anybody
Not right now.
his team.
Yeah.
Do you think Simmons is having sex with his fantasy figure? I mean, they're very close.
That would be really, really weird.
Awkward.
Well, we're all uncomfortable.
It's real to him. It's real to him.
I don't know.
It's all in here.
I'm totally joking.
I'm Team Amy Acker when it comes to Coulson. I want him and the cellist from Portland to get together.
Yeah.
But another question, and this is right from our YouTube right now. Spice Nug asks us, what do you think Skye is as far as her origins are concerned? We were talking about this.
Before we get started, Spice Nug, why did you ask that question? We can go off for like hours.
We have the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after show. Join us in 10 minutes for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after show. Also known as the They Couldn't Shut Us Up edition.
The encyclopedia.
James brought up a good point before we went live. Could this tie into what you were saying?
The Inhumans, I think it's totally Inhumans. I think we're totally going to go for Inhumans. I think we're totally going to go for Kree coming into the whole plot. That name has been dropped constantly throughout. And we basically need Inhumans. I mean, Vin Diesel pretty much said, I think Marvel thinks I'm Inhuman, so, and obviously he is, right? So it makes full sense. I think my also thought about it is that, you know, Attilan, the city where the Inhumans live, might actually be somewhere in East Asia where Skye, who is an 084, was found, and her parents were the monsters that went and destroyed that whole town, and the baby was being protected. So my guess is that they found a baby that was somehow lost from the city, and then the parents came to reclaim it in that case. So that kind of introduces us to the whole world. And they could be underground because there's a moment in season 1 finale that John Carrot says that there's a whole new world underground. And he's already taken that serum.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, so I think that in this case, instead of it being on the blue side of the moon where the city is and so like that, and the Watcher is and everything, I think they're going to have the city of Attilan underground, and so hence the Terrigen Mist and all that kind of stuff is going to pop into it. So hopefully.
I mean, let us know what you guys think of where Skye came from. Like,
Yeah,
I want to
send us in
know
your
what you
thoughts.
guys think. Like, let's
Yeah,
do it.
the Inhumans thing is the most logical one I've heard thus far. Like, because I have heard a ton of theories, and the Inhuman ones, which I just heard today. Well, I was just like, oh, see, that makes sense, because I've been reading. I went back and read Secret Warriors by Jonathan Hickman, to just get ready for this season, and I was like, theoretically, Skye could be one of these girls. She could be Daisy. Like, it's possible, but I don't necessarily see. It would feel kind of shoehorned to me if they did that. So unless they had a really good reason, which they may. So who knows? Skye's origins, certainly something we want to talk to you guys about. So let us know. You can always ask us questions, and we like to answer them. That's why we're here. But we are actually going to have to start wrapping up. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode as much as we did. I know we were sitting here freaking out, loving everything that happened. Yes! And so we're excited for next week. We hope you're excited for next week. If you liked the show, you definitely want to go ahead right now and subscribe to theStream.tv right here on YouTube. You're already here. Check it out. Hit that button. All right? And continue to tweet us all throughout the week. We love to get conversations going. And plus, we want questions for next week. You may get to see your name up on the screen, which is totally cool. So you definitely want to tweet us using the hashtag AOSAS. Hashtag AOSAS. Thank you guys very, very much. We're super excited about going on this journey with you guys. We will see you next week right here on theStream.tv. Have a good night.
And in Whedon,
we trust. Yeah. We certainly do. Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.